On today's episode, I speak with Martha Beck, a brilliant, renowned sociologist and life coach who talks about integrity and fawning. Welcome to the Holistic Life Navigation Podcast, where we explore life through the lens of somatics. I'm Luis Mujica, a somatic educator who teaches people how to find safety in themselves. Your turn to learn begins now. I'm so thrilled to welcome to the podcast Martha Beck. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. So, trying to think how to begin. I'll begin by saying that I'm fairly new to you. A couple years ago, my wife is not new to you; she adores you. So I've heard you coming through her body over the years. And then I actually found you about 5 or 6 years ago with a series I think you did with Byron Katie or some kind of interview you did.
Yeah.
And that's what I was really moved by you. Just things you were saying, and your presence felt really familiar. And I thought I need to look into this person. Yeah, and then a client actually, I think it was 2 years ago, sent me an interview around the integrity work, the integrity cleanse you were talking about, and I was like, I have got to meet this woman someday. So I'm so excited it's happening. I don't even know where to begin because there's so much I want to ask you. So should we just dive? I love diving.
Dive anywhere.
Okay.
Great.
I love that. I love diving. So the first thing that excites me, I'm a somatic therapist, and a lot of the work that I do, a piece of the work I do, I should say, is about the fawning response.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I got that from you, and I've been stealing it and using it.
Good.
All over the land.
Every time I read The Way of Integrity or I hear you speak about it, I'm like, fawning. Right? It's like the book on fawning. So can we start there? Tell me about it. Tell us about it.
Well, I'm just going to keep plugging you to yourself because this was such a brilliant thing to realize. People had told me, okay, you've got fight or flight, but then you've also got faint and freeze. Then someone threw in flop, which is a lot like faint, let's be honest.
Close to faint, yeah.
But I was listening to one of your podcasts and you talked about another fear response, which is fawning, which is so fascinating to me because it is a biologically programmed facet of a social primate. Like, I guess other animals fawn, dogs do it. Mm-hmm. They all do it. But with apes especially, we are just programmed to get our heads down and groom the superior ape or whatever, yes. or get ourselves bitten hard on the head. And I've spent my whole life getting triggered into a fawning response. It is a mind-blowingly liberating concept, which I got completely from you. And I just have to thank you for it. And
well, that's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it helps me not fawn so much. It's really helped to have it as a concept, and it's helped my clients. I mean, did you make that up?
No, I wish. I've popularized it by the way I talk about it. But no, it's existed, but no one really goes into it, into how pervasive it is. And it happens everywhere, and it's socially rewarded. I mean, my identity was fawning. It's all I did for like 30 years. It's like how I lived, right? Yeah.
And it leads to like a spider's nest of resentment and unexpressed feelings.
Yes.
Because I hung around with fawners too. Everybody was fawning with everybody else.
Yes.
And I've been around narcissists who love to gather a whole courtyard of fawners, and
a gaggle of fawners.
Yeah, they're sort of energy vampires that just suck in the narcissistic supply, and all the fawners think this is great.
It's the perfect trauma bond. I will a colleague of mine, she would call it covert narcissism is the fawner, but it's like this spectrum of the same wand, and it's just the perfect link, isn't it?
Yeah. I call it the echo versus the narcissist. So narcissist mythologically fell in love with his own reflection in the water. And he would just sit there and say, I love you, I love you. And then this water naiad named Echo was under a curse that she could only repeat what other people said. She could not express her own mind. So she caught sight of him looking up. He was talking to his own reflection. And he would say, I love you so much. You're the best thing in the world. And she would repeat, I love you so much. You're the best thing in the world. And that was their relationship. They were both in love with the same man. And I call myself an echo. Mm-hmm. And because
That's
fawners and
brilliant.
echoes, same.
Well, so I think why I call your book, I've put so many people onto this book because it's really like the manual for how to stop fawning without saying that. Because the way you call it the way of integrity, first of all.
Uh-huh.
And what I love are these 6 symptoms you've essentially identified and organized, which really helps people see how it manifests in the body to lie, to fawn, to what you call torture your nature to serve your culture.
Uh-huh.
Can you walk us through these symptoms and how you discovered them in your own body?
Yeah, I found them in my own body by looking at them in other people who came to me for help. And the biggest thing that drives people to almost to despair, it's not what you'd think. It's not poverty or broken relationships. It is a loss of a sense of purpose. My life doesn't have any meaning for me, because the moment you give up your own integrity to fawn on another person, you've lost the sense of truth at your core, which contains instructions to living your purpose. So that's the first thing. The moment you step off integrity, which simply means to be whole and intact, it's not like I'm going to spank you for telling lies. Integrity just means intact. So the very first signal is, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what to do with the day. So many people don't know what to do with the day. Oh my gosh. When the pandemic interfered with all our usual schedules, it didn't change my day at all, because I am far too lazy to work ever. I work all day, but I do the things I love, and I have a strong sense of purpose. And I realized that without structure, social structure, a lot of people didn't know what to do. So that was huge while I was writing The Way of Integrity during the pandemic, the first lockdowns. So that's the first one. Then you start to feel grumpy moods. Your emotions go off. Some people get angry. Some people get depressed. Some people get anxious. Some people do all 3. I do all 3. What can I say? I'm a woman of many talents. So when your emotions are off kilter, okay, I've lost myself. I'm not doing what I'm meant to do, what my integrity tells me. Third thing is, it actually starts manifesting in physical symptoms. This is where you are so amazing. I mean, this is what you do, right? You help people out with this. And most of the clients that I've worked with, thousands at this point, need to go back to their bodies before they do anything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the body responds. I'm sure you know this research, but after they did this a study where they just asked people, hey, maybe don't lie so much for a few weeks. They were like, okay, no one policed them or anything. Then they had a control group that didn't do that. After 3 weeks, the people who stopped lying as much had fewer doctor visits. They had better sleep. They had fewer colds. They had fewer aches and pains. The effect on the body is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I got to the point of violent autoimmune illnesses before I gave in.
So what did that look like for you? Like, were you simultaneously sick and knowing that's what was happening? Or like, where did this link? Okay, what was the moment you awakened to that then?
Okay, so I grew up Mormon, not knowing I was gay, but knowing I was Mormon. That's not good for one's integrity.
Yeah.
Then I went off to Harvard when I was 17, so I really didn't know what to do. It was massive culture shock, and I just pretended to agree with everyone. So I was torn to shreds in terms of my self-presentation being off the line of my integrity. But I didn't know my one moral principle was I must make everybody happy, right? It's the social contract.
That's right.
So after a few years of that, I started to get really bad musculoskeletal pain. How do you say that?
I think you're right. Yeah, musculoskeletal pain.
Yeah, and joint problems. And I said my hands didn't work. My right knee gave out. I developed massive back spasms. I ended up in a back brace for years and on crutches and swinging my right leg uselessly.
And how old were you?
I was 19.
Wow. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd been a marathon runner and everything, but that was over. And so it was really, really, really hard. And it just kept getting worse. And then so that nobody could tell what was wrong with me. They eventually diagnosed it as fibromyalgia, which presents differently for everyone. But then I started getting diagnosable things. I got interstitial cystitis, which is the way at your organs. I got a skin lesion called granuloma annulare, which is usually only in diabetics. I got a bunch of things, and they would always tell me it is autoimmune, poorly understood, progressive, and incurable. Yay. I remember when I was diagnosed with interstitial cystitis, but with a surgery, I mean, they could tell this was really happening. They gave me a pamphlet about coping with this illness, and I opened at random to a page, and it said, and I quote, "To keep from committing suicide, remind yourself of your religious beliefs."
Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
It was painful. Turned out that I just got so exhausted from not being myself that my body quit. And when I started to find my way back to myself, all of these incurable progressive symptoms went away. So
I just want to pause and feel that. I love, because I wrote down something you had said before. The body hates to lie.
it hates it.
And that's an example of years of lying. And I also wonder, when I hear lie, I also hear like the undiscovered truth, things that we don't even know are true.
Yeah.
So, repressed childhood experiences, repressed desire. I'm sure that was all part of your experience.
I had all of them. Yeah. I anything that you suppress that is your truth, it lodges in your emotions, and it lodges in the body. And basically your entire system is trying to help you break away from having betrayed yourself. And I really want to emphasize here that it is not a moral failing. People do not lose their integrity because they are bad. They lose their integrity because they're trying so hard to be good. That's
yeah. Well, that's where the fawning comes up for me constantly, like just how you even introduced it as a biological response.
Yeah.
That's there's an innocence to that. And
completely.
Right, we start to just stigmatize the shame around it because we notice the body is doing something we don't even know it's doing, that we grew up doing, and then we just think it's us, like I'm the nice one, right?
Except in my secret moments, I want to hurt people.
I want to hurt people. Oh my gosh, I've had sessions with fawners that are just telling me the most nightmarish, like nightmare death fantasies they have that just like are so repressed from this like smile that really wants to bite. But that's what fascinates me about. That's one thing I love about your coaching so much. I had listened to an interview you did on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday about your book, and you coached her through a somatic experience. You were showing her
customer too.
Yes, she is, but you did it. And she was talking about watching a movie with her partner Stedman. And you were trying to show her that when we are holding up a belief that isn't true for us, it hurts. And I just wanted to like pause into that around the somatics of truth and the somatics of lying.
Yeah.
And for you to share with us what you've learned over the years with that.
Oh my gosh. First of all, the more strong-willed someone is, the further they can go away from their truth without feeling the pain it causes. Oprah is one of the strongest people I've ever met in terms of her will, her body, her desire to do good, everything. So her whole thing was, it's wrong to fall asleep during a movie because that's someone's life work out there and you need to respect it. And Stedman would doze off. He was tired while they watched movies. And I was like, okay, so how do you feel? Well, I'm upset at him and I'm trying to watch the movie and I want it, things aren't right. And I was like, all right, so does that relax you or does it make you, that's the basic thing. Does it open you up or does it tense you up? And she was like, well, it's tense. And I'm like, well, maybe it's not Stedman. Maybe it's the belief that no one should ever fall asleep during a movie. And then we got to this thing of, she also thinks it's wrong to throw out books, to the extent that she has pro-apartheid books that were sent to her that she kept. And I was like, oh, that's like saying, I need my COVID germs. Let me put them in the fridge so I can suck on them. I was like, oh no, she has that much respect for other people's work.
Yeah.
It's just so sweet, but it wasn't helping. So I think she actually did, at least for a while, kind of let go of that after I teased her about it. But a lot of us break long before she would. And we get this incredible, before we even get sick. What I always tell people is that the Buddha used to say, whatever form the ocean takes, wherever you see it, you can know if it's the ocean because it will always taste of salt. And wherever you find truth or enlightenment, you will always know it, because no matter what it looks like, it will always taste freedom. So people think that a bad mood means that they're going in the wrong direction. But actually, you can be scared spitless. But if you're going in the direction that makes you feel free, that's your integrity. So the body opens up and relaxes, and everybody does a different kind of personal dance when they start to get in touch with it. And the tension of lying or fawning, like, how did you feel when you were fawning on that person? It's just tight, weak, paradoxically weak, but tight. And then you say, okay, imagine being with your puppy at the beach, and then just like, yeah.
Even you doing that bracing, it just it helps me understand even more that what's really happening is the body's bracing against its truth coming out.
Exactly.
Right. That's what fawning and lying really is.
And it's fighting you because it wants to be true. The body wants to tell the truth. And that's why lie detectors work. One of the things I do most often, and it's sort of, a party trick. But I just have people hold up their arms like this, and then I press them down. And I'm sure you've done this. I have them tell me a truth and a lie. And I show them the difference in their muscle strength. So the truth I have them say is, I love fresh air. And the lie I have them say is, I love to vomit, usually. If it's somebody, we've had bulimics who kind of did, but
I did, yeah.
You get incredibly weak. And I remember working with heroin addicts, active heroin addicts, and we'd do this exercise, and they'd hold their hand out and they'd say, I love heroin. And their bodies went completely weak. Their bodies didn't want the heroin. It blew me away. They got so weak and so tight. And of course, what they wanted the heroin for was to blot out the emotional and physical results of not living their lives, the lives they meant to live. So
you literally just answered my question in my head with that sentence, which is really everything we do in our life to cope with pain is we're just soothing the body that doesn't feel good lying, essentially.
Yes.
Or it isn't connected to its integrity, right?
It basically boils down to that. Yeah. So it goes loss of purpose, bad mood, then you get physical problems, then you can get addictions because you're trying to medicate the thing instead of just finding your truth and living it. Then your career starts to go down the potty, and then your relationships start suffering. So those 6 things are sort of a progressive, a logical progression of symptoms that happen when people don't know who they are and don't dare tell the truth, and don't even know sometimes the truth of what they want their lives to be.
Even when I hear you say that, I get this visual of, in my language, like orienting outward to find security because there isn't a self-relationship built. Exactly. So I'm wondering, for you in your own journey of this integrity work, what was it like to actually start relating to your truth instead of your belief that was opposing your truth? Like, what was that inner relationship like?
Oh, wow. I remember when I was 23 and went to Japan for the first time. And I was reading this book about Japan. And at this point, meditation was not a thing Americans did. It was considered very woo-woo and wacky. I got this little Japanese book. I sat down and I got quiet. And oh my God, Luis, within 5 minutes, I had 103-degree fever. My throat had closed to the point I almost couldn't breathe. I'd broken out in a rash.
Wow.
I was so sick. And it was because I had made the first step toward releasing all the pain I'd been keeping inside. And I was feeling how my body really felt, and it was not happy. And I remember jumping to my feet and saying, I will never do that again. Then I went on to major in East Asian studies and meditate, as the core of my daily practice.
Wait, so how did you go from I'm never doing that again to then meditating all the time?
Well, I went to Asia. I studied Chinese and Japanese, and I lived there for a year and came back to Harvard to finish my degree there, my undergraduate degree. And I found myself so bewildered by the way Americans acted. And I didn't know that in Asia, I had started to adopt another worldview. Because it was I was just studying the language, and it was just coming in through my pores. I was young, right? So I wasn't aware. But the Western way of looking at the world and at ourselves is that we're born basically a blank slate, and then we have to add qualities that make us more perfect. That's the whole monotheistic God thing. You're born a sinner, and then you have to become righteous. You have to become godlike, and it's an upward arrow, and you have to work. And in Asia, like the Tao Te Ching, my favorite book in the world, says, in the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the pursuit of enlightenment, every day something is dropped. Less and less do you need to do things until you arrive at non-action. When nothing is done, nothing remains undone. The idea there is that we're born perfect, whole, radiant, connected with the love of the universe. And as we grow up, what we learn from trauma or socialization it dirties the jewel of the soul. So your job is to clean off the gunk, not to add new qualities, which is a very fawning way of doing it, right? The whole monotheistic God in so many traditions is an angry God. I have to give you praise, and you're going to hurt me if I don't, and maybe even if I do. It's a classic narcissist.
You're literally fawning to God. Yeah, I love that.
God is a huge narcissist, and we're all supposed to be echoes, right? In Asia, it was everything is God. Just stop pretending that you don't see that that's true. Stop hanging on to what causes you pain, what causes a lack of freedom. And so I started investigating that way. And I began meditating regularly. And as I went in, it was really frightening. But the pain left me with no other option. I was literally bedridden for almost 12 years. And what is there to do but meditate?
Yeah.
So I learned.
And what's there to lose when you're at that state?
That's what my body gave me. I had nothing to lose. And I went in and realized that I was doing all the wrong things in all the wrong ways for my truth. And then my life blew up, and then it got really good.
So that place where life blows up. Again, one thing I loved so much about what I really loved about the book was that, I don't know if it's even willingness. Maybe I heard that, but the willingness or the readiness that everything's going to fall apart because your life has been built on not being integral. So now that you're coming into your integrity, everything that was, let's say, depending on the fawn or the lie, literally dissolves or ruptures from you. Rarely do people, actually evolve this place with you. Usually end up detaching. What was that like? What did you lose in gaining integrity?
So the first thing that happened, which made it possible for me to do this, is not something everybody gets. But then again, my coming into truth was more violent than most people experience. I was actually in a surgery. My body was so sick, and I ended up bleeding internally for no particular reason. Well, actually, it was from scar tissue that was inflicted by being raped when I was 5. So, but I didn't remember it. So I started, I had immense amounts of pain and internal bleeding. And I was in a surgery where they opened me up to see what the heck was going on. And during the surgery, I opened my eyes and sat up, which is very strange because my eyes were taped shut. I was lying anesthetized on the table. And I looked at the surgeons and I watched them operating on me, and I was really confused. And then I lay back down, and above me, between the surgical lights, another light appeared, and it was about the size of a golf ball, but unspeakably radiant and beautiful. Like we see a trillionth of the available light spectrum. This was like I could see the whole light spectrum. There's no way to describe why it's so beautiful, but it is. And it grew and it filled my body. And as it did, I felt this unbelievable warmth and love and humor and homecoming, and just all the pain I'd been in for all those years was gone, emotional and physical. And basically what it said was, you think you have to die to feel this way, but actually you have to live so that it feels this way. And you're about to go through something really hard, but don't worry, I'm here. I've always been here. I always will be. I woke up from that surgery and I was sobbing. And the first person I saw was this very scruffy janitor who was like cleaning the room. And I opened my eyes and I said, I love you so much. I did.
I believe it.
I was crying and crying, and the nurses thought I was upset, and I'm like, no, I'm happy. And then, okay, whatever. And then I wanted to see the anesthesiologist because whatever he gave me, I wanted more. But he came in and talked to me and said there were no such side effects. I finally told him what happened a little bit. And he said that I started to cry when the light touched me, my body. My body was crying. There it is again, the body. And the surgeons thought I was in pain, that I could feel them operating. And they were like, get her under, and the anesthesiologist went to increase the medication. And he said a voice told him not to do it. It said she's crying because she's happy. And he said, I just did it. And he was just like a ghost. He was so scared that he'd messed up and I'd been in pain. So I told him about it, and he was like, wow. He told me about the voice, and he said, you know how many times this has happened to me in 33 years of practice? And I said, no. He said, once.
Wow.
But after that, I decided that I had to stop doing anything that did not feel like that light. And in the next months, I left my religion, my family of origin, my job, my industry, academia, realized that I was gay. So there went my marriage, left my home, when I left my religion, because I was raised Mormon, it meant every friend I had.
Everything gone. Everything.
And we were living in Utah at the time. So people would literally turn their backs as I walked down the street because I was an apostate and a sinner. And
I have a question. Did that light source become the kind of relationship you were building when all these other relationships fell? Or did you have support elsewhere? What was like that?
The light was it, man. The light was everything. And one thing about those experiences, I was nowhere near death, but people see that light in near-death experiences. And one of the interesting things about them is that memory doesn't work the same way with that particular experience. It never fades. It is right there with you. And so it literally, I could not unring that bell. So I would just drive around with my 3 kids in my van sobbing. I had 3 little kids and I could barely walk. And I would just remember this moment that I saw the light constantly. I retrained my brain to go there before anything else. It was the only thing that mattered to me because my life had been just a parade of falsehoods. It was nothing. And then that light was there and it was everything.
I mean, and I hear you saying it felt a certain, like there was this feeling for the light, and anything that opposed that feeling, you just left. Yeah. You walked away from. I mean, that's so gorgeous to me.
Yeah, I can't do that. Like the light would I'd start to pull away from it by even thinking something that wasn't true for me at the deepest level. And I'd be like, nope. Like, this is awful. Both my parents have passed away, so I can say this.
Okay.
Now, but I stopped seeing my parents. My father was the one who sexually abused me, and my mother knew about it and basically told me I had to protect it because I had to protect him because he was a pillar of the Mormon church. One of the most important figures in supporting the doctrines of the church as scientifically true, which they are not. But so I tried. I kept trying to fawn, and I couldn't take my kids into that house. I couldn't stay there. So I kept thinking, I'll get over this. I'll go take care of my parents again. But I just couldn't. And then after a few weeks, my mother called me and said, we miss having you here. And I said, I miss the concept of having parents. We'd never had a good relationship. I mean, I had been really working on it, but it was a terrible, terrible relationship all through my childhood and adolescence. So that was the truth. I missed the concept of having parents. To say that to your own mother, who's trying to be nice, it was like the ultimate cultural sin.
Yeah. It lights me up though, because I love the detail of that truth. It's not like I miss my parents, like I miss the concept of a parent. It's just gorgeous.
People would ask me things. This is still true. People say, can I come over? And I'll be like, wait. Well, actually,
So, okay, this is where your book has greatly affected me for the good.
uh-huh.
Is I do a lot of personal practice and teach this difference between capacity and desire, I call it. And
Love
so
it.
there's like the thing you want, and then there's the reality of, does your body have capacity for the thing you want?
Right.
So in the last couple of years, I've been really practicing it, but especially
Mhm.
since reading your book, I'm like, it's like straight up. And this thing will happen where everyone will call me the cancel king, because if something, you're
I
clapping
love
for me.
it.
Martha's clapping for those of you that aren't watching this. And I'll cancel on somebody. And what's interesting is the last 4 years I've been really practicing that.
Mm.
And it wasn't as incredibly traumatic as your experience leaving the church. Yet I found certain friendships were extremely triggered and outraged by me choosing myself, and
Yes.
others were extremely inspired. And so those who are inspired are now my core group of friends, and we kind of build that canceling culture, to play on that word, together, you know?
It weeds out the
It weeds it out.
garden. It really
It's
does.
amazing.
And the other thing is, when you have a group of friends who don't mind you canceling, they can cancel on you. You can cancel on
That's
them. There's
right.
never any ill feeling. There's always just, and the reason is that you don't need the other relationship to happen right then, because you have yourself. And
Ding,
everybody's
ding,
like,
ding. That's I always say, if you have yourself, everyone else is a bonus. And it's like, if
exactly,
you don't have
yeah.
yourself, they're the self that you think you're looking for. Yeah, can I share a short story with you?
Please. I
Because
love your
you
story.
awakened something in my body that's just so present. When you're talking about that surgery, I was taken back to one of my own surgeries. And so I had this intersex expression where my body created a ton of estrogen, and I grew hips and breasts all throughout elementary school and middle school, which you can imagine in and of itself is traumatizing when you're a little boy growing breasts, and confusing, all those things. But it was my medicine and led to all this work I do now. Anyway, I'm 21 and I'm getting top surgery. And I get top surgery. I go home to heal from it. And when you get top surgery, it's different than when you are a woman and you're getting your breasts minimized, reduction, because they have to put a pressure chest over this wound that's already been created. So you get your breast removed, your nipples are cut, and then there's a pressure just pressing against that extremely tender place for 2 weeks so it heals flat. So it's the most excruciating pain I've ever experienced in my life. And when you were talking about your experience, it brought me there, because I remember sitting in that pain thinking, this is all the pain I couldn't feel all these years because I was dissociated and numb from my chest.
Wow.
All my fawning came from people. I didn't want them to notice my chest. I was trying to be the most charming one in the room. I had a lot of sexual trauma from boys like messing with me because I had breasts. So this place held so much pain that I never actually felt. And I was with it for like 3 weeks, no medication, because I just wanted to let the pain be the medicine. And it was so profound, and my life really started to change from that. So I didn't have the light experience. I loved your light experience. What I had was this deep kind of reconnection to a place, even though it hurt. Yeah. And when you were talking earlier about like nature and about integrity, it was an integral experience. The pain wasn't, like you said, it wasn't going down the wrong path or something I needed to numb out. It was actually bringing me into it. It was like facilitating me to connect to these parts I had never touched before.
That's fascinating. And I've had the same experience with surgeries that correct something. Like I had a foot surgery that kept me, I had to have my foot over my head for 8 weeks. And they gave me, they gave me opioids and stuff. And I took one. And then I was like, no, my brain loves the feeling of this new arrangement of foot. And I'm not going to steal it. That was an integrity thing. And it was weird. The pain actually became something, because I knew it was positive. That's the thing about integrity. It will tell you whether a painful experience is building you up or tearing you down. Mm-hmm. And if it's building you up, if it's for your integrity, go head first into it. If it is not in your integrity and it's even a tiny bit uncomfortable, refuse.
I love that, because I always have people asking me, what's the difference between intuition and fear response?
Yeah, I get that.
Right. And when you have that felt sense, like when it's a thought, it's really impossible to tell the difference. When you have that felt sense, it's like, I know the difference. You just know you're with it, right? Sensationally.
Yeah. And the sensation, which is a physical sensation, of it going the wrong way is not only fear, but disgust. There's this kind of repulsion. There's a physical pulling back, and like people pull up their lips. You can see the animal saying, "Ugh, that smells funny, and I'm not going to eat it." You know, and then they push through it. Don't push through it. If there's even a little bit of yes, don't go there. But if you're terrified and it says yes, be terrified.
I love
feel
that.
fear and do it. If you don't, then forgive yourself.
Yeah, it's so gorgeous. If you can.
Glad you did. Yeah.
So, okay, one thing, we have to close soon. One thing I wanted to just kind of bring in here is this year of no lying. Now, are you still doing, like, tell us about this no lying thing.
Yeah. So after the surgery, where I saw the light, I made a New Year's resolution that I would not lie for a whole calendar year. And I kept the resolution. And that's when all the crap hit the fan. Right? And I ended up with a completely different life, which was pretty barren for a while, but very clear and clean. And at the end of the year, I realized if I were in Nazi Germany hiding Jews in the basement, and the Gestapo asked me if I had Jews in the basement, I would lie and feel moral. So it wasn't about just saying words that weren't true. It was about going into the sense of what is true in a deep spiritual way and living according to that. But after that, I started doing things called integrity cleanses, where I'd do like a whole year. And then I did 3 years. And then when I started writing the book, I went into one that is now 6 years in. And the thing is, because my life is built on what I love, it's not hard.
That's so nice.
Not at all.
That's the piece right there, isn't it?
Yeah. And the energy you save by not fawning is just amazing.
I used to get migraines 4 times a week.
Really?
And as I went into my own kind of self-led integrity cleanse, those migraines just started gone, because all that bracing and pain of fawning and all the energy, like you just said, expresses. It's so intense.
Our greatest ally is suffering. And because it's always trying to lead us home. And as soon as we start going there, it doesn't want to torture us. It wants to be our friend, and it will let up. And thank you for teaching people this. I love what you do.
I'm just so happy I had this conversation with you. You know, your work is brilliant. Whenever I listen to you, you're so easy to, it's like you're very digestible for me. It's just so easy to like osmotically absorb.
Likewise. Everything you say sounds like my language.
Yeah, and I'm not fawning, everybody. This is for real.
Not at all.
You're allowed to compliment and not fawn. There's a difference. But thank you so much for your sweet work and presence, and I really appreciate your time, Martha.
You too, Louise. Keep it up. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
That's the end of today's episode. Now let's take a moment to notice where we feel the episode in our bodies. Close your eyes. Take a breath. And let whatever wants to come up, come up. And remember, those sensations hold the wisdom that we're looking for. If you want to go deeper, visit holisticlifenavigation.com.